Hi there, welcome to No Nonsense Whiskey. My name's VMPF and on today's episode we're doing another Sample Saturday right here for you. This one's going back to that big old collection that I got from Mark Littler fairly recently. If you didn't catch that, you must have seen some of my Sample Saturday videos coming up previously. But he sent me a massive box full of all these old samples that he picked up at auction sites. The whole point, I guess, was to share with me these whiskies, but also to be able to show to the world that, you know, it's worthwhile looking at samples on auction sites. They can be expensive and you can convince yourself that it's too expensive, but we always say on these videos that if you were in a bar and you saw a 1970s Balvenie for 30 quid for a dram of it, you might take a chance on it and see if it's any good. So why wouldn't you do that for your auction sites? But yeah, so as always, we've banded a couple together. Nice easy one today. We've got a couple of Balvenies. Now, one's a Balvenie and one's a Balvenie-Glenlivet. Not sure of the age of one of them, but, you know, we are where we are with that. So, yeah, let's get into it then and see what we've actually got on the old shelf today. Now, I'm going to have to go in a very specific order on this, and that'll become quite clear because one of these is like rocket fuel. But as always, with what I've done now is, so as I used to do, I used to open these on camera and crack it, but I don't do that anymore because, to be honest with you, I was doing the drams a disservice. So these have been sat out for a good half an hour now to let them air out, not only because that's just good for good quality whiskey, but also old samples need a little bit of time to open up. They can be, you know, they've been sat around for a long time doing nothing. So yeah. Also, one thing that you won't be knowledgeable of on this case is the fill level. These are both pretty good. So yeah, if you get a sample that's got a fill level that's below the neck, I would be a little bit worried about that because that shows, obviously it's a potential for a low fill, but it shows that there might be a bit of evaporation which can taint your spirit. Okay, so the first one then. Here we have a Balvenie pure malt whiskey over 8 years. And this is the old style proofing, 70% proof. As we talk about a lot on here, you know, it's not the same as the American proof. This is the English proof, which that 70% translates to about 40%. I think the exact it translates to is 39.9 by the calculators that I use. But yeah, 40%. So that's the reason why. The second one, this one here is 108.6 proof, but actually it gives me the percent as well, which is 62%. So yeah, that's a lot. So let's get into the first one then and see what we got. A Balvenie. This one's from the 1970s, allegedly. So, you know, we enjoy that. It's got a good colour, very classic. Let's check out on the nose. Now for me, it's, you know, it's classic. It's classic Scotchy Scotch. But the big overarching flavour is green apples. Granny Smiths, you know, a little bit of sweet, a little bit of sour, very robust, very hearty. Not too much else. It's very light on the nose, very easy to digest. Sometimes that's all you want, you know. I think this one sold for 150 odd quid as a full-size bottle, so it's fairly expensive, but for a snapshot in time, why not? Okay, good legs actually, I just noticed there as well. Reasonable. Let's get onto the palate and see what we got. Interesting. Okay, my first reaction, the first mouthfeel was quite thin on the mouthfeel, but you give it a hall pass for that because the 40%, things tend to be a bit thinner at that level. I need another sip. It's got a bit of I mean, the apples it's an appley dram. This is apples, not even stewed or baked or anything. It's just apples, straight up fresh apples. It's pretty tasty. It's got a lot of spice on the back end and warms up quite nicely. Becomes a little bit more robust towards the back end, which I'm enjoying. Another little quick sippy. Yeah, it's tasty enough. You know, using Mark's Whiskey Watch scale, I'd probably give that a solid 6 out of 10. You know, not terrible, but on that scale, you know, if you're using a proper scale where you actually use all the numbers rather than just 8, 9, and 10, A 6 would be just above average, which that pretty much is. You know, it's not going to light anyone's world on fire. You're not gonna sit there and drink that and think, gosh, I wish I was around in the 70s or whenever this was bottled to be able to get this kind of thing. But it is lovely to be able to have a look at that snapshot and assess it. Now I'll cleanse in between each one, because why not? These are two very different beasts. The second one then is a Balvenie-Glenlivet. Again, we don't know exactly when this is from. Hard to do your research on these things. But this is a Balvenie-Glenlivet pure malt Scotch whisky as we get it. And I can't even read the small. Something Bruce. Mayflower Bruce, something like that. And Co. Inverness. So yeah, this one here is 62%, which is insane. I don't think I've ever seen a old sample bottled that high before. Now, sometimes I confuse when I pour these out, sometimes I confuse them, but there's no confusing this one. It's, it's huge. Right? I drink a lot of high ABV whiskey, and you'll often see me nosing them like they're nothing. I stick my nose right in. This one here, it's strong. It's like proper, I don't know, it's like smelling salts, straight up your nose. But for me, I'm not getting a hell of a lot of robust whiskey notes from it. You've seen how pale this thing is, so it's, I don't know how old it is, but very little cask influence gone in on that. If I was being really generous, some vanillas, some honeys at the back end, but really digging deep. Let's try a bit of a palate and see if I get something else from that. Oof. That is a challenging drink. Wows. It's almost making me feel like I want to sneeze. It's just really getting up in there. Yeah. In terms of flavour, there's nothing on the nose, to be honest. You'd have to work really hard. You'd probably have to add water to this, which I don't really do on camera anyway, so I'm not going to do that today. But you probably have to add water to this to try and open it up a little bit more. But as we get it, as it comes, nose not its finest hour. Jeez, wow, it's a lot. So again, the palate replicates the nose a little bit. There's not actually much flavour behind the ABV. The ABV is a winner from my point of view. I love high ABV. It's like, I always liken it to fat when you're barbecuing. If you're going to barbecue properly, you want a high fat content, because that's where the flavour tends to come from on a lot of different meats. And that's where like ABV really helps flavour, I think. But in this case, it's the only thing going for it. I'm not going to lie. It's a challenging drink. It's not one that you would session on. You could assess it, and I think that's about the limits of what this dram would do for you. From a personal point of view, I would say I do not enjoy that at all. It's interesting to drink from my critical brain side of things, when I'm like assessing whiskey, but from a sitting down and enjoying point of view, which I like to drink whiskey like that, just like everybody else does, that's not it. Dislike, I would say. So that's probably going to go right down to that kind of like probably 3 out of 10 for me. Giving room for stuff, it's inherently drinkable. I'm justifying my score now, but it's inherently drinkable. So I wouldn't call it terrible whiskey. It's not my personal preference at all. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, that's just me done. That's Sample Saturday for another Saturday then. Hopefully you're enjoying these videos, because I'm enjoying making them. I'm enjoying locating the drams that I like and the ones that I don't like so much. We've got a lot of cool stuff coming up. I've got a lot of stuff from the 1960s and 70s, which should be much more up my street, if that makes sense. But yeah, hopefully you're sticking around for these videos, because I'm enjoying making them, and hopefully you're enjoying watching them. But I'll usually at the end of these videos, I would say I'm going to enjoy these off camera, but I don't know if I'm gonna finish what's in the glass. I'm not a tramp. I'm not gonna pour these back into the bottles. But yeah, Sometimes I even say on these videos that Mark might have to pry these from my cold dead hands, but I'm definitely going to be sending both of these back to him because they're not really my thing. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you again on more videos coming soon. Cheers.